A brazen robbery attempt rocked a neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro when an off-duty socio-educational agent was confronted by two armed criminals while walking down the street. Realizing he was moments away from being attacked, the agent, who was carrying his service weapon, reacted with lightning speed. He drew his firearm and opened fire to defend himself, forcing the assailants to abandon their plan and flee the area in panic.
São Paulo, Brazil. A botched motorcycle robbery spiraled into an almost comical showdown after a quick-thinking woman outsmarted three would-be thieves. The suspects closed in on her motorcycle, convinced they could escape with it in seconds. But they didn't realize the most crucial component was missing: the smart key fob, safely hidden in the woman's pocket. Without the sensor, the high-end bike was nothing more than a dead machine. As the robbers cluelessly fought with the ignition, the woman broke free and ran to safety. Moments later, in a shocking display of nerve, she returned to confront the trio, leaving witnesses stunned at her fearlessness. A tense and dangerous confrontation unfolded in the Perdizes neighborhood of São Paulo after an 18-year-old suspect attempted to steal a wedding ring from a couple walking along the street. According to reports, the suspect approached the couple and threatened them with what appeared to be a firearm, demanding their jewelry. The situation escalated rapidly when the 41-year-old male victim chose to resist, believing the weapon was fake. In a split second, the victim pushed the suspect to the ground, triggering a chaotic struggle. During the fall, a shocking detail became clear. The gun was real. The weapon slipped from the suspect's hands and fell onto the sidewalk, where one of the victims quickly grabbed it, preventing the confrontation from escalating further.
A daring robbery shocked the city of Santo André, São Paulo, when a criminal approached a pedestrian and stole a gold chain, a mobile phone, and even the victim's wedding ring. The situation escalated instantly into a gunfight when a retired civil police officer witnessed the assault from across the street and decided to intervene. The suspect opened fire at least 6 times before jumping onto a motorcycle and fleeing the scene. He has not yet been captured. Fortunately, both the victim and the retired officer escaped unharmed during the exchange of gunfire. Police are now actively investigating and have already identified the suspect's home address as they work to track him down. These two guys thought it would be an easy car theft, but the security system immediately alerted the homeowner about the break-in. Realizing they'd been caught, the criminals bolted and fled the scene in panic. A timely reminder: stay alert during the holiday season. This is when thieves are most active.
Are you okay? Are you okay? We see and that two guys is coming to your front door. And it's wrong. But we see on the
São Paulo, Brazil. A street in the city turned into a crime scene caught on security camera when a motorcyclist was ambushed by two armed men in a sudden, violent attack. The robbers grew suspicious after noticing a strange bulge under the victim's jacket, fearing it might be a weapon. In a twist worthy of dark irony, the object was nothing more than a birthday present. As the thieves attempted to flee, the situation unraveled. One of the robbers lost control of a large displacement motorcycle, crashing to the ground and dropping his gun. Sensing a split-second opportunity, the victim seized the weapon and fought back, struggling with the fallen assailant. During the scuffle, the robber was shot in the leg, instantly ending the attempted escape. Now wounded and terrified, he began begging for mercy, pleading for his life. But the victim refused to shoot an already downed attacker and instead held his ground until police arrived. A high-stakes carjacking unfolded in Luis Guillon, Esteban Echeverria, when two armed suspects attempted to steal a woman's vehicle but failed to start the engine. As the plan unraveled, the situation escalated dangerously. The suspects forced the victim to remain inside the car as a hostage, compelling her to start the vehicle for them. At that critical moment, a police patrol unit arrived, alerted by an emergency call from nearby witnesses. Officers executed what was later described as an outstanding tactical response, approaching the vehicle in a defensive formation while prioritizing the victim's life above all else. Under pressure, the suspects fled on foot in separate directions, managing to escape. The incident unfolded in a bar located in San Luis Marañón, when an armed suspect wearing a motorcycle helmet stormed the establishment to carry out a robbery. The criminal immediately began terrorizing the patrons, forcing them to put their hands over their heads while he demanded their valuables. Among the customers was an off-duty civil police officer who remained remarkably calm despite the immediate danger. To avoid a direct confrontation in a crowded space, the officer dropped to the floor, appearing to comply while actually positioning himself for a tactical advantage. He waited patiently for a moment of distraction, and as soon as the robber turned his back to monitor the other side of the room, the officer drew his weapon and fired 4 shots.
A tense and dangerous situation unfolded during a bank robbery attempt, when a fearless woman confronted an armed criminal head-on. Instead of surrendering to fear, she stood her ground, disrupting the robber's plan and forcing him to flee the scene. Because of the high-risk nature of the crime and the possibility that the suspect could return or target others, military forces were urgently called in to assist police in securing the area and tracking down the fleeing attacker. Authorities praised the woman's courage and quick reaction, noting that her actions may have prevented a far more violent outcome. Meanwhile, an active manhunt is underway as investigators work to locate the suspect and bring him to justice. Please be cautious when going out alone after dark. Thieves often target women, attempting to snatch mobile phones, handbags, or purses, believing they are easy targets. Stay aware of your surroundings, keep valuables secure, and whenever possible, walk with others or in well-lit areas. Your safety comes first, always.
In the Monte Rico urban area of Chiclayano district, La Victoria, Two motorcycle-riding criminals snatched a woman's cell phone as she walked down the street, but their escape did not go as planned. Seconds after the robbery, a pickup truck driver swung into action, ramming the thieves and sending both men crashing onto the sidewalk. Dazed but still mobile, the pair managed to scramble back to their feet and flee before police arrived. The shaken victim later approached the pickup driver to offer her thanks for the unexpected act of intervention. A failed robbery attempt unfolded in northern São Paulo when a motorcyclist was ambushed by three suspects on the street. Sensing that the attackers were not armed, the victim fought back, triggering an unexpected turn of events. A neighboring couple rushed in to help, forcing the suspects to panic and flee empty-handed. In a critical development, one of the fleeing suspects dropped a driver's license, CNH, at the scene. Police later identified the name on the document as Vinicius dos Santos Martins, raising hopes of a swift arrest. A shocking incident unfolded during an attempted robbery when a driver decided to pursue a fleeing suspect, a decision that quickly turned dangerous. According to reports, the victim chased the criminal moments after the failed robbery attempt. During the pursuit, the suspect turned back and opened fire, striking the driver. The shooting caused panic at the scene and highlighted how rapidly situations like this can spiral out of control. Emergency services were called immediately, and the injured driver was rushed to the hospital for medical treatment. Authorities later launched a search operation to locate the suspect involved in the attack. Police and security experts used the case as a stark warning to the public, emphasizing that chasing or confronting criminals can put lives at serious risk, even after an apparent escape.
A dramatic crime unfolded in western São Paulo, Brazil, when a retired military police officer was ambushed by three armed robbers while riding his motorcycle. Security cameras captured the moment two motorcycles carrying the suspects pulled up and threatened him at gunpoint, demanding his vehicle. At first, the former officer complied, stepping off the motorcycle and walking toward the sidewalk as ordered. But in a sudden and decisive move, he drew his own firearm and opened fire, catching the criminals off guard and sending them scrambling to escape. One suspect was hit during the exchange and later taken into custody at a hospital, while the remaining two fled the scene. Civil police are currently investigating the incident, and authorities say the retired officer acted in legitimate self-defense.
A violent street robbery erupted in São Paulo when a woman was suddenly ambushed while walking alongside a man. Footage from the Smart Sampa surveillance network captured the exact moment the attacker rushed in, striking the victim and placing her in a chokehold as he tried to steal her belongings. The assault escalated within seconds, a chaotic struggle unfolding in full view of the city's monitoring system. But technology intervened before the attacker could escape. An automated alert from the Smart Sampa network triggered a rapid response, sending traffic agents, CT, and the City Civil Guard, GCM, racing to the location. Arriving officers pulled the robber off the woman, stopping the assault and preventing him from fleeing with her possessions. Authorities later praised the efficiency of the Smart Sampa camera system and the swift, decisive intervention by responding officers, crediting both with preventing the robbery from turning into something far worse. The suspect is now in custody as investigators continue to examine the case. An armed robbery erupted in Guarulhos, São Paulo, when a husband and wife pair of municipal civil guards, GCM, off-duty but legally armed, were ambushed by two motorcycle-riding suspects. Security footage captures the dramatic moment the male civil guard collapses and pretends to be dead as the suspects open fire. Seconds later, in a sudden reversal, he draws his weapon and shoots back, striking one of the attackers. The wounded suspect was overpowered and taken into custody, while the accomplice managed to escape. A street robbery in progress was abruptly stopped after a police officer intervened at the critical moment. According to authorities, the officer was nearby when he noticed a suspect violently attempting to rob another man. The situation escalated quickly as the suspect used force while trying to steal the victim's belongings, placing the victim in immediate danger. Recognizing the seriousness of the threat, the officer acted without hesitation, restraining the suspect.
It seemed like a routine afternoon inside a busy shopping mall, until four thieves launched a ruthless ambush on a jewelry store. At first, two of them blended in as customers. But within seconds, two more burst inside, brandishing weapons and ordering employees to hand over high-value merchandise. Surveillance cameras recorded the terrifying chaos as the criminals threatened staff and smashed display cases. But the heist collapsed the moment a highly trained security guard stepped out from a restricted area. Without hesitation, he triggered the alarm and confronted the attackers head-on. A fierce gunfight erupted, bullets flying across the store as shoppers ran for cover. In the intense exchange of fire, the gang's leader was taken down, while the remaining robbers were quickly overpowered and arrested at the scene. Police say this investigation is still expanding. At least 6 accomplices were reportedly waiting outside to support the escape and are now the target of an active manhunt.
A tense robbery took a startling turn when a quick-thinking mother intervened with an unexpected weapon: her pit bull. Security footage shows a family being attacked during an attempted carjacking when a passerby sprinted toward the scene, dog in tow. Without hesitation, she released the pit bull, sending it charging straight at the assailants. The reaction was instant. The thieves, visibly terrified, abandoned the robbery and bolted in every direction, scrambling to escape the lunging dog. Her fast action ended the attack and allowed the targeted family to retreat safely. Authorities praised the woman's courage, calling her intervention both risky and remarkably effective. A robbery in progress, stopped by a mother's instinct and a dog's fearsome presence. An incident involving an armed individual occurred at a beverage store, where the owner was unexpectedly confronted. Surveillance cameras documented the entire sequence, beginning with the suspect, dressed in a white shirt, approaching the establishment. Moments later, a brief exchange involving firearms took place. During the incident, one employee was injured in the back while attempting to return to the store. Authorities confirmed that all other individuals inside the business remained unharmed. The situation ended shortly afterward when the threat was brought under control at the scene. The store owner, who is also a licensed attorney, immediately contacted authorities and provided a full account of the events. After reviewing witness statements and video evidence, the Brazilian Bar Association, OAB, confirmed that the owner's actions met the legal criteria for self-defense, citing the immediate risk faced at the time. A bold robbery at a supermarket in the interior of São Paulo state has raised growing concerns among authorities. As investigators examine potential links to other high-profile crimes in the region, police are assessing whether the incident may be connected to a previous case in Sorocaba, where masked suspects carried out an audacious attack that drew nationwide attention. Investigators believe the similarities between the cases may not be coincidental. Suspicion has intensified due to the presence of a vehicle belonging to the company responsible for ATM cash operations at the supermarket during the robbery. This detail suggests the crime occurred precisely while cash handling activities were taking place. Authorities are now exploring the possibility that sensitive information regarding schedules or procedures may have been leaked by someone with internal access. The case is currently being handled by the Sorocaba Civil Police, who emphasize that the investigation remains ongoing. No further details have been released as authorities continue to analyze whether the robbery is part of a broader, coordinated criminal operation. São Paulo, Brazil. Police have taken down a dangerous motorcycle theft ring that had been terrorizing riders across the city. 5 suspects were arrested, including 20-year-old Mateus Costa Silva, known on the streets as Tezoka, a criminal with at least 20 prior offenses involving theft, robbery, and illegal weapons possession. Investigators released footage showing Mateus carrying out an armed motorcycle robbery, leveling a gun at his victims before fleeing on stolen bikes. But the crackdown didn't end with him. Police confirmed that his girlfriend was also taken into custody, accused of helping launder the gang's profits by receiving payments for the stolen motorcycles. During the operation, officers executed 21 search warrants, seizing firearms and uncovering large quantities of stolen motorcycle parts inside 4 auto parts shops around São Paulo. Many components are believed to have come from bikes stripped and resold on the black market. Two recent robbery incidents have raised concerns in the Cursino neighborhood, located in the southern zone of São Paulo, Brazil. The first and most serious case involved a couple who were approached shortly after getting into their car outside a friend's apartment building. According to security camera footage, the suspect, posing as a delivery worker and arriving on a motorcycle, dismounted, threatened the victims with a firearm, and took several personal belongings. Stolen items reportedly included mobile phones, wedding rings, and cash. A second incident was also reported in the same area, in which 2 motorcycle-riding suspects carried out a street robbery targeting pedestrians. In that case, a wallet, mobile phone, and wristwatch were taken, with total losses estimated at more than 15,000 reais. Authorities have confirmed that police are reviewing surveillance footage from both incidents as part of an ongoing investigation aimed at identifying and apprehending those responsible. The cases have heightened local concerns about public safety and repeat offenses involving motorcycle-based robberies. This woman was a police officer off duty when 2 robbers on a motorbike came speeding toward her. The one on the back raised his gun, aiming it straight at her. But in that split second, he realized his deadly mistake. In a flash, the officer drew her weapon and pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang out. The robber collapsed to the ground in panic, then staggered to his feet and fled in terror. Without a moment's hesitation, she chased after him, but he managed to escape. The criminals, however, were captured just a few days after the attack.
Confronting criminals isn't always about physical strength. The smartest and safest way to protect yourself from violent robbers is to stay one step ahead. Always stay aware of your surroundings. If threatened, remember your safety matters more than your belongings. Find the quickest way to escape danger. Seek help and contact the police as soon as you can. Stay alert to avoid becoming a target. Protect yourself with awareness, caution, and smart decisions.
Personnel from the Municipal Community Care Program once again demonstrated their effective emergency response, coming to the aid of residents in San Isidro. Thanks to the sharp coordination between patrol units and the district's surveillance cameras, authorities arrested a 17-year-old suspect who had been pretending to be armed while robbing pedestrians and motorists. The incident unfolded last Wednesday afternoon. Operators monitoring the municipality's security cameras detected the young man's modus operandi, triggering a radio alert. The suspect was spotted near the intersection of Paraná and Colectora Panamericana in Martinez. Municipal Patrol Vehicle Number 38, commanded by Lieutenant Claudia Elena Vicentan and driven by Traffic Inspector Maximiliano Lopez, arrived within moments. They found the suspect standing beside a black pickup truck stopped under the Panamericana Bridge. As officers moved in, the teen had half his body inside the vehicle, apparently attempting yet another robbery, while the driver was visibly in a state of panic. The operation ended with the arrest of the 18-year-old, a resident of El Talar de Pacheco in the Tigre district. During the search, a couple approached officers to report that they too had just been robbed by the same individual. They explained that while driving along Colectora, the teen had confronted them at a traffic light near Paraná, claiming to have a gun hidden under his clothing and forcing the driver to hand over his Samsung cell phone. A swift intervention, and another example of how San Isidro's surveillance and rapid response teams continue to prevent violent crimes on its streets. According to local reports, a brazen attempted robbery targeted an off-duty military police officer in the Grajaú district, located in the southern zone of São Paulo. The incident occurred at approximately 9 p.m., when the officer was pursued by three suspicious riding two motorcycles. Facing an imminent threat, he pretended to surrender and ran into the garage of his mother's home, using the moment to reposition himself. Security camera footage shows the officer responding quickly, firing 5 shots, which forced the suspects to retreat and flee the scene. Authorities and local media are praising the courageous actions of a security guard identified as Danilo, who intervened to stop a carjacking attempt in Ataya along the São Paulo coastline. According to reports, Danilo was unarmed and outnumbered, but relied on his professional experience and quick judgment when he noticed 3 criminals attacking a woman inside her vehicle. With no weapon available, he grabbed a broken bottle from a nearby trash bin and used it to confront the suspects. The unexpected resistance caught the attackers off guard, forcing them to retreat and abandon the crime. The woman was able to escape unharmed, and the suspects fled the scene before police arrived. Authorities highlighted Danilo's calm decision-making under pressure, noting that his intervention was decisive in stopping the carjacking attempt. Despite the positive outcome, police continue to remind the public that confronting criminals carries serious risks and should be avoided whenever possible.
A robbery attempt on a busy avenue was abruptly halted when 2 criminals on a motorcycle targeted a family stopped at a red light. Security footage captures the moment the suspects pulled up alongside the vehicle and began snatching belongings through the windows. Unbeknownst to them, an off-duty police officer was sitting just behind. Recognizing the crime instantly, the officer raced forward, disrupting the attack and chasing the fleeing suspects at high speed. The pair attempted to escape through traffic, but their getaway fell apart fast. In a reckless maneuver, they slammed into a delivery driver's motorcycle, toppling it to the ground. Officers closed in moments later, successfully capturing both suspects.
An attempted armed robbery was dramatically foiled when 2 family dogs leapt to their owner's defense. The incident began as an elderly man returned home and stopped at his front gate. In that moment, 2 armed criminals suddenly attacked, pointing a gun at his face and dragging him out of his car. Their target was clear: the vehicle and any valuables he carried. Inside the house, the man's granddaughter witnessed the assault and reacted instantly. Without hesitation, she gave a command to the family dogs, a crucial decision that changed everything. Within seconds, the two dogs charged at the attackers, barking fiercely and biting the assailants as they tried to wrestle control of the situation. Caught off guard and overwhelmed by the dogs' aggression, the robbers panicked and fled, abandoning the robbery attempt entirely. Thanks to the granddaughter's quick thinking and the dog's fearless intervention, the elderly man escaped unharmed. A brazen robbery was reported in Huancayo, where four armed individuals entered a pharmacy and took approximately 20,000 sols that the victim had recently withdrawn from a BBVA bank. As the suspects attempted to escape on motorcycles, the store manager managed to get away and sought help from a nearby truck driver. Without hesitation, the driver accelerated and blocked the suspects' escape, causing them to lose control of their motorcycles and preventing them from fleeing with the stolen money. Police units arrived shortly afterward and detained two of the four suspects, while the remaining two are still being sought. Authorities and local media described the truck driver's actions as heroic, noting that his quick response played a crucial role in stopping the robbery and assisting police efforts. The robbery began when a masked man stormed in and tried to overpower a man who was speaking with a female cashier. But before the attacker could cause any real harm, another nearby customer sprang into action, grabbing the gunman's arm and slamming him to the ground, wrestling the weapon away in a fierce struggle. At the same time, a second man acted decisively to end the threat once and for all, saving everyone in the store from danger.
Two thieves thought the dark of night would give them the perfect chance to break into a man's home and steal whatever they could grab. But what they didn't know was that the homeowner and his neighbor were already waiting for them. As soon as the intruders stepped inside, the pair launched their ambush, confronting the thieves and catching them on the spot before they could escape or take anything. A surprise for the criminals, a victory for community vigilance.
A robbery attempt at a Houston hotel ended abruptly when a quick-thinking clerk turned the tables on an armed intruder. Surveillance footage released by the Houston Police Department shows a man armed with a rifle leaping over the hotel counter and demanding that the employee open the cash safe. Complying calmly, the clerk unlocked the safe as ordered, but the robber failed to notice a critical detail. The employee had a hidden handgun just out of the camera's view. The moment the clerk drew the firearm and aimed it at him, the would-be robber panicked and bolted, sprinting out of the hotel without taking anything. The incident highlights how the hotel employee successfully defended himself against an armed threat, ending the confrontation without a single shot fired. A robbery incident in Bogota drew public attention after two suspects were stopped by a passing driver, who intervened during their attempted escape. According to reports, the driver, frustrated by ongoing crime in the area, used his vehicle to block and disrupt the suspect's flight. Following the brief pursuit, police arrived and took the suspects into custody, transporting them to a hospital for medical evaluation. Authorities also recovered a firearm and the stolen property, confirming the suspect's involvement in the robbery. São Paulo, Brazil. What began as a calculated street robbery unraveled into chaos when the intended victim revealed himself to be anything but defenseless. According to preliminary reports, three suspects traveling in a car slowed beside a man walking alone, selecting him as what they believed was an easy and vulnerable target. The decision would prove to be a critical mistake. In a matter of seconds, the man recognized the imminent threat. Acting on instinct and training, he drew his firearm and fired in self-defense. instantly flipping the balance of power. Gunfire shattered the moment. Caught completely off guard, the suspects panicked. Their plan collapsed as they scrambled back into the vehicle and fled the scene at high speed, abandoning the attempted robbery and narrowly escaping capture.
A brazen robbery broke out inside a dental clinic in Brazil. But the criminals had no idea their victims included the worst possible target. Among the patients was a 46-year-old federal police officer, a seasoned veteran with 25 years of service. He had only come in for a routine procedure to fix a broken tooth, and instead found himself face to face with danger. Reacting with absolute precision, the off-duty officer took down both suspects, neutralizing the threat before anyone was hurt. Maintaining full control of the situation, he calmly instructed a clinic staff member to call the police and keep watch over the subdued attackers until backup arrived.
A routine cash transfer almost turned deadly when a bank security guard was ambushed while moving money from an armored truck to an ATM. Unbeknownst to him, three robbers were hiding inside a white vehicle nearby, watching and waiting for the right moment to strike. As soon as the guard lifted the money bag, the suspects launched their attack, rushing him in a sudden violent burst. But the guard reacted even faster. In a split second, he darted behind a parked car, drew his weapon, and opened fire. The sound of gunshots echoed through the street, sending the would-be robbers scrambling in panic, their carefully planned ambush collapsing instantly. A bold attack, met with sharper instincts and a guard who refused to be caught off guard. A police pursuit in Tucumán, Argentina, took an unexpected turn when a traffic inspector intervened to stop a fleeing motorcycle suspect. As the suspect attempted to escape while being chased by police, the inspector used his bicycle as an improvised barrier, placing it directly in the motorcycle's path. The maneuver disrupted the escape, causing the motorcycle to stop. Officers quickly moved in and took the suspect into custody without further incident. This guy was trying to threaten a man sitting in his car to rob him, but the man quickly acted in self-defense, and the robber was knocked to the ground. Two thieves attempted to conceal their identities using improvised face coverings before breaking into a store. Believing their disguises would help them evade detection, they entered the establishment intending to steal merchandise and leave unnoticed. However, their plan quickly failed. Security cameras clearly captured both suspects during the break-in, allowing authorities to identify and locate them within a short time. The two men were later arrested. A bold motorcycle robbery in Berazategui escalated after a local resident identified as Jorge intervened when armed suspects attempted to flee. According to reports, Jorge used his car to block and repeatedly reverse into the attackers, forcing them to abandon the stolen Honda Twister motorcycle. The suspects ultimately fled the scene without the vehicle. The case remains under investigation as police work to identify and locate those responsible. João Vitor, a convenience store employee, has drawn public attention after twice reacting to theft and robbery attempts while on duty. In the most recent incident, João attempted to restrain a man stealing chocolate from the store. Within moments, however, 6 accomplices suddenly entered, overwhelming him and enabling the suspect to escape. In an earlier case, João confronted and successfully subdued a robber after determining that the weapon used was fake, avoiding serious harm. Security experts have since warned about the significant risks involved in confronting criminals, emphasizing that João was fortunate not to suffer serious injuries. After these experiences, João stated that he no longer wishes to take such risks and hopes only to work peacefully and return home safely after each shift. Dear thieves, please consider changing careers. Life gets so much better when you earn an honest living. That's a guarantee. Las Tunas, Tigre, a purse snatching in broad daylight, was quickly brought to an end thanks to the rapid response of patrol units from the Tigre Operations Center, COT. The incident occurred at the intersection of Echeverria and Ascuénaga, where a man suddenly grabbed a woman's purse and fled the scene. Within seconds, a nearby patrol unit assisted the victim and immediately launched a pursuit. The suspect didn't get far. Just a few blocks away, officers intercepted him at Francisita and Cala 3, where he was arrested without incident. The stolen belongings were recovered and promptly returned to the victim. Authorities highlighted the effectiveness of Tigre's security infrastructure. The municipality operates more than 130 patrol units monitoring streets and waterways around the clock, allowing for fast intervention in emergencies detected by the COT. This network is reinforced by over 2,000 security cameras installed throughout the city, tracking criminal activity, traffic incidents, and public safety disturbances, with support from citizen protection, civil defense, traffic units, and SET ambulances. Thanks to coordinated surveillance and swift action, another crime in Tigre was stopped before it could escalate. He Mossos de Squadra, Catalan police, together with the Barcelona City Police, arrested two men aged 27 and 35 on Monday in connection with a violent robbery at a jewelry store in the Sarria Sant Gervasi district. According to authorities, the suspects disguised themselves as women in order to carry out the robbery. When officers moved in to make the arrest, the men attempted to resist, throwing objects, pieces of jewelry, and cash at police in an effort to avoid being detained.